Holy cow. It's 2:16 a.m. in the morning. I stayed up super late playing a video game called Yuga Replayly, then a little bit of a game called Alan Wake 2, which was being given for free for people who owned a PlayStation Plus. And then I watched a whole lot of new information on Samsung's entry in the XR market, Galaxy XR. Let's make this quick so I can go to bed. So, I currently weigh 156.6. Pretty great. Lowest I've weighed in a while. Love it. And what did I eat today? In the morning, I had 2 keto breads that were toasted with 3 slices of bacon and 2 eggs with 2 slices of Tillamook cheese on top. Pretty good. I enjoyed that. Next, in the afternoon, I had one sec. I thought there was a sneeze coming. I guess it's just a one. Yawn, not one. Anyways, so later I had 6 of those caramel Chalk Zero chocolate squares, which were pretty good. I liked those. And then in the afternoon, around 5 o'clock, on my lunch break from work, I had a Spam, cheese, and mustard sandwich with a little pepper. The reason I used Spam was because that was like literally the only like lunch meat we have in the house, and on top of that, the mayonnaise. We were all out of mayonnaise, so I just had to use mustard. It actually wasn't too bad. I actually really liked it. Luckily, my mom arrived from the grocery store, and she brought with her some turkey, seasoned black pepper turkey, and provolone cheese. So I quickly whipped up another sandwich because I gotta be honest, I was still hungry after that previous Spam sandwich. It was pretty good. I really liked it. And I also had some cashew nuts, half a serving of that, about 15 grams, and a cup of coffee, and a can of Polar cherry flavored sparkling water. And that's pretty much what I ate today. I did take my vitamins. So there you go. Okay, any exercise? Pretty much just constantly walking around the store I work at. Sometimes running. That's pretty much it. Exercised as I worked, technically. Well, let's move on to the daily update. So, when I got up, I remember, what happened when I woke up? I think I was like by myself at the time. Like my mom left to check on our family friend. Out of concern, and I was figuring out what to make for breakfast. So I made breakfast, which was the egg, the cheese, the toast, the bacon, and I had a cup of coffee. And as I was eating, I was listening to a Simi and Jimmy movie podcast, which was, I guess filled the air and gave me something to listen to, and it's kind of funny. after I was done with that video, I wanted to see the Simeon Jimmy tribute to this YouTuber called King Cobra, where he made a little tribute with his, where Simeon Jimmy made a tribute with his friend Eggman Rodriguez. So I was watching that. My sister woke up and she came in and I told her what I was watching, and then that reminded me of this silly video that Simeon made with Eggy about a thing called a candy calzone. It was basically a parody of back when King Cobra was still alive, one of his recipes. So they decided to make it themselves, but Simeon decided to make it a little act where he got Eggy to basically play a version of King Cobra. So it was like a comedy video in a way. I wanted to share that with my sister because I thought it was kind of funny, although a little crass. Which, I mean, I'm not too bothered by crass humor. As long as it makes me laugh, that's what I look for, really. So we watched it, and we thought it was pretty funny. I mean, I thought it was funny. My sister seemed to think it was funny. She was laughing here and there. And then, after watching that, I remember I wanted to go ahead and listen to the latest Digital Foundry podcast, Digital Foundry Direct, and not gonna lie, there really wasn't that much news that caught me in a wow, that's interesting kind of way. Most of it was just like Xbox handheld the ROG Ally, which is basically just an ROG Ally but with an Xbox label stamped on it and maybe some Xbox user interface features on the front of it. But overall, it's just a Windows handheld with the Xbox label haphazardly slapped on. Not really interesting to me, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, I'm not even an Xbox guy, so yeah, don't really care about that. What else? I remember they were talking about like other things that I'm forgetting right now. So I'll just move on from that. I needed to take a shower. When I was done with my shower, I got dressed. I left at 1. And when I arrived at work today, my first hour was spent out on lot, which I really liked because I find lot is great therapy time for me, just running around pushing carts and just having time to myself in my own thoughts, and I like that. But anyways, as I was pushing the carts, I'd be handing some to customers I think would need it. I'd give them, would you like it? And they either say no or yes please, and I'd give it to them. So that's always nice to do. And then, when I was done with that, the next hour was spent bagging. I remember the third hour, I wanted to be on my break, but I was the only courtesy clerk up, and one courtesy clerk hadn't returned from their lunch break, and the other was unaware that it was their time to go back inside from pushing carts outside. So I reminded them that it was their time to go back into the store, and it was my turn to push the carts. I asked one of the CSRs if it would be okay if I took my 10-minute break and I'd take it outside in the front, so as soon as I was done with my break I could immediately go and start pushing the carts, and they said that's fine. So that's what I did. And yeah, it ended up working out pretty well. I did a breathing exercise, which was nice. And then I pushed some carts for a good hour. Pretty good. And then finally, after that, I remember I had 1 more hour of front end bagging. That went pretty well. No qualms there. And then I punched out for lunch. When I drove home for lunch, I was listening to like a guy on YouTube who had like a really clickbaity video. It was like, "It's not aliens" in his title, and then his thumbnail was "Until It Is." Clearly like bait, because the entire video was basically just, the only reason you want, aliens to be a thing is because, having something cool and unexplainable in our reality, it would be really neat. But at the end of the day, you need to go where the data goes, and I prefer more to know than to believe in something, because if I don't, know it exists off the bat, then I can't believe in it to begin with. And it was basically just him saying that most UAP reports are basically just too hard to really make anything of, and at the end of the day it could just be explained away as some balloon or swamp gas, or simple explanation. Yeah, but UFOs get them clicks, I guess, and his video worked for me, so I did listen to it at 3x speed on my way home. Meh. When I arrived back home, I was watching a review of the new Apple Vision Pro M5 chip version with a 120 hertz screen that was recently just released, which I thought was quite interesting. And as I was listening to that, I was making my sandwich. I had my cashews next to it and a bubbly cherry flavored water. And then my mom asked if where I was, and I said I was currently doing lunch, and she said she was on her way from the store. Oh, she called me about an hour before my lunch asking if I wanted anything, and I said Coke Zero would be nice, so she got some Coke Zero. When she arrived, she had everything ready, so she asked for my help to take everything and bring it inside, so I did that. And we had all of our things, and then she updated me on how our family and friends are doing, so I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And then I made some coffee with the freshly bought coffee beans that we now have. And then I needed to leave for work, so I left and arrived at 6. I was on sweep and lot duty for the last 4 hours. Well, sweep for the first 2 hours, and then sweep and lot for the last 2 hours. And I spent that time taking out trash. I also refilled bags. I wiped down check stands, and I brought carts and signs in. Then, when I was done, I signed off on the paper, and I punched out. I remember one of my coworkers said that I didn't need to finish clearing lot; they would do it, and I could punch out, so I did. And right when I punched out, I decided I would say goodbye to everyone in the store that I work with. So I stopped by at the meat counter, was talking with a coworker, and he was telling me about what's going on and in the current state of the store and his opinion on things. It was pretty interesting. One of the co-managers came in, and they got a little conversation. I was sort of in between it. And it was pretty interesting. But after that, I decided to leave. I said goodbye to the meat clerk. I said goodbye to co-manager. I said goodbye to one of the cashiers, and then I drove home. And before I left to get in my car, there was a homeless person who asked me for directions to get to a park, and I showed them through Google Maps, and they were very grateful, and they left to go to where they needed to go. And then I remember they told me their favorite presidents were Teddy Roosevelt and Franklin D. Roosevelt, because one made alcohol legal and the other one made wildlife preserve national parks. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I arrived home. My sister was there to greet me. We kind of hung out. I generated some AI videos using Sora based on some real life events that happened earlier in the day, and I showed them to my sister. She thought they were very funny. Then she was doing her Duolingo. I went on my PlayStation 5 and I wanted to play some more ukulele, so I did that. And then I wanted to see what free games were being made available for PlayStation Plus subscribers, and one of those was Alan Wake 2. I've always been interested in trying that game out, so I downloaded it, and I was playing through it. I was caught off guard at the beginning where you apparently play as like a naked fat guy, which I wasn't expecting, but apparently there you go. Very odd. But yeah. And then it later transitions to where you're playing as like a woman who works for the FBI who's trying to solve a case using her mind palace, which is interesting. It's getting really late, so I wanted to record my video, so I said goodnight to my sister, and when I went in, I realized, oh yeah, Samsung probably announced that Galaxy XR device. I want to see what that's about. So I looked into it, and I mean, it certainly seems like a pretty neat deal. It gives you a lot of Google integrated features and seems like a really neat device to have. There's just one problem, and that's it is significantly less expensive than the Vision Pro at $1,800 instead of $3,500. So that's kind of cool, I guess. It's like about half the amount, little more than that, but still around half the amount. Probably because they don't have a dumb display on the front of it, and it just is the camera and sensors, and they use that money elsewhere. So that's cool. But I was curious how much it ultimately would be with taxes and everything. So I was like going through the Samsung website and just filling out the work, and I wasn't planning on buying it because I sure as heck do not have the money for something like that currently. But I just wanted to see how much it was if you chose to buy, because apparently the device just released today, is made available for people to purchase. Apparently the device costs, like, if you add taxes to it, around $19,000. So it's like an additional $100 and something of taxes. So it's approaching the 2,000 mark. Sure, it's still about 1,500 less than the Vision Pro, but it's also definitely jumping up there. And I mean, the idea of having a micro OLED, a personal cinema display, is something that sounds really appealing and cool to me. That's the number one reason why I think it would be neat to have, having your own little personal cinema. But at the same time, it's like, how could you really justify that by spending that exorbitant amount of money? I mean, seems kind of ridiculous if you ask me. I mean, I guess you could share it with someone, but the most I'd be willing to spend for a device like that would be around $1,000 at most. I would say 2,000. No, it's still too much. I mean, number one thing that would get me interested in it would be those high resolution micro OLED displays. Like that right there is like, wow, that sounds cool. Like I'd be down with that. But yeah, the price, yeah, too much, way too much. Unless I decide to get a second job just to pay for a dumb headset to wear, I don't see it happening. Or unless I like get a lotto ticket and win a lot of money somehow, which I don't play the lottery because I think it's a waste of money. I mean, I prefer putting that in like in long-term investment instead, because at least you're more likely to make a return on what you put into it. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it seems cool, but everything about it just also seems like unnecessary. Like it's a cool party trick, but at the same time you're spending so much money for something that's just like a neat little party trick that might outlast its welcome in a very short amount of time. But who knows, maybe it actually is amazing to play around with. I don't know. Well, anyways, after I was done with that, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't made my video yet. So here it is. It's 2:37. I am dead dog tired, and I'm gonna go to bed. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a great night, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next video. Goodbye.